Good day, ladies and gentlemen, Precious Metal Summit 2015 here in Zurich. It's the second day, and I have, Mr. Copper here with me, Gianni Kovacevic, the founder and executive chairman of Copper Bank. And we want to talk about China, new tendencies, and of course, the effects on the copper markets. Gianni, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Oka. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Well, China, what's going on? What are your thoughts on the whole thing by now? Because it's a little bit diffuse, the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of opinions, I think, with China. And I think for many people, it's interesting to look at the gray side of the Chinese economy. Mm-hmm. And I think to understand that, you have to understand who lives in China and what's the future of China. Short term, I don't think anyone can really control what can take place. Mm-hmm. Certainly, there are teething pains taking place. But looking at it from a medium to longer term perspective, there are 4 blocks of people that live in China. One, the children of the Cultural Revolution, about 160 million people, 1 million university graduates. Mm-hmm. Then you get the lucky risers, 45 to 55, 5 million college graduates. The PC generation, 35 to 45-year-old, 8 million college graduates. But the future of China, and I think with the changing economy, has everything to do with the millennials, 415 million people. To put that in context, there's only 350 million working age people in Europe and the United States combined. So it's a lot of people. 80% of them were born rural, the majority now live urban. They all have a cell phone. They know how the world works. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, over 100 million have graduated university. They have different expectations. I think the economy, one of the reasons it's becoming a consumer-driven economy is because these people, they don't want factory jobs anymore. They have higher expectations. And of course, the most important thing with this consumption lifestyle that they were adopting, not just in China, but across the world, is energy. The umbilical cord of human progress, energy.
Absolutely. So where do you see China moving then, in that sense?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, for example, they are already electrifying the public transport. It's not like a bus with a diesel motor. It's already electrified. Yeah, for example.
Yeah, they're making a lot of changes on the energy mix, and the future of energy transfer and the energy creation and utilization in China and elsewhere in the world will be electricity. Mm-hmm. So China has the world's largest electricity capacity. It's got about 1,360 gigawatts of electrical capacity, and they're going to put in another 30-35% in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. Coal is is a pillar. It'll be about 125 some odd gigawatts of coal-fired power.
It's getting quite big, right?
38 gigawatts. So it's something, but it's the real big change is going to happen in wind and solar, where they're going to install 175 gigawatts of wind and solar. The costs have come down. It's not base load, but it does work in many cases, and people can become prosumers living behind the meter, let's say, for their own power needs. But the important point here is all these things, this green energy takes 3 to 5 times more copper per megawatt of utility. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a game changer. Wow. And you can't look at this, one item to second item, but if we look forward 3 years, 4 years, 5 years in the future, all these things that we talk about with greener and cleaner energy, they all become line items, in copper consumption.
Yeah. Okay, let's dive into the copper consumption, into, let's say, supply-demand balances. As far as I know, the International Copper Study Group predicted all the time a surplus the last 6-7 years, and it was all the time a deficit. So it's quite funny. Despite that, copper prices were driven down significantly. Now it's $2.35, I think, the pound today. Yep. What is your thought on that now?
Yeah, it's a delicate market. It is relatively balanced. Some supply has been taken out of the market, as we've seen, probably about 1 million tons. Glencore being the leader, they took out about 500,000 tons out of the market. But because it's so balanced, it's so tight, what happens when something else takes place? What happens if there's an act of God? There's going to be some other production curtailment here in the 230, 240 a pound copper sort of price environment. And I think you have to ultimately look at the end user, the real end user, the Pirelli, the GE, the Mitsubishi, the cable manufacturers, China State Grid. In a market like this, why would you want to lock in prices for long term, maybe unless it's a rising price environment? Yeah. And to use the phrase that Robert Friedland says, he says that when these changes happen, it's like a school of fish. It's just a direction. Mm-hmm. And if we recall back in 2003, when you had the pit collapse at Grasberg, that was the pivotal moment, the tipping point and copper prices went from 80, 90 cents up to $4. So I think looking at it in the next 18 months to 5 years, it's going to happen naturally. You're going to have, I think, rising copper prices. But in the event of an act of God or something happens with one of the major copper mines, on that day, people start locking in the security to have a longer term sort of known price environment, and then it's a cascade that just continues. And this can be irrespective of, let's say, the rest of the commodity complex.
What copper prices can you imagine?
I never predict the future, but I do know that
just an idea.
BHP Billiton, which is the largest integrated mining company in the world, they will tell you that around 75% of future projects have an inducement price, meaning the price you need at least to make this project sensible is $3.50 copper. Now, when copper goes to $3.50, who finances a mine? Nobody. It's not the will, Jochen, it's the money. You can't finance it. Copper has to overshoot $3.50 to go to some level, whatever the market wants, to give you confidence that the copper price will still be around $3 or $3.50. So I think it has to be significantly higher than $3.50 if you want to have this new supply.
Yeah, definitely. So how is it going with your project, with your baby, with Copperbank?
Copperbank is smooth sailing. For those that don't know, it's this copper holding strategy. We don't do anything. We buy projects that are not economic at these prices, and we basically want to protect the per share value. So we have in all categories 3.5 billion pounds of copper in Copperbank. So if you divide that by the number of shares, for each share you get exposure to 25 pounds of copper in the ground.
That's nice.
Now, because the shares are 4 or 5 cents here in early November, it's about 1/5 of a penny per pound. And that's what we protect. We don't want to dilute the copper pounds per share. And so that's, I think, something to look forward to. And we are looking to buy more projects accretively. They have to have those measures or better. And that's how I'm participating myself to have exposure to copper.
Perfect. Well, Gianni, thank you very much, and thanks for your valued time and your predictions. And I'm also very positive on copper, honestly.
Yeah, good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it was Gianni Kovacevic, the founder and executive chairman of Copperbank, talking about China, of course, as one of the biggest demand nations for copper, for sure. And he's as positive as we are on copper. Maybe 350 is the minimum price. What BHP predicted would make sense of. You said 75%, I think, of the
around
75% of the projects which they really need to be viable. And probably it has to be much higher, maybe closer to $4 to get new projects financed then. And we will see what happens. But very interesting market. Thanks for watching us. Bye bye from Zurich.